The term woke is a political tag given to liberals by conservatives. It started in the mid 90s with the rise of the extremism on the right. A convenient way to tag people with a term that they could then go on and use later in their ads and whatever to push themselves away from liberal ideas and liberal thoughts in political and government realms. The idea, the idea that woke is just an idea, uh, you can get to easily through the process known as deconstruction. And deconstruction is really what I want to talk to you about today because it's not really understood like it should be. And, the truth is that we can all practice, what I think is the art of deconstruction. Uh, Deconstruction is defined as a way of understanding how something was created, such as the term woke. And this usually applies to art, books, poems, and other writings. But deconstruction is actually breaking something down into smaller parts so that you can understand them easier. Deconstruction then looks at these smaller parts that were used to create, an object of some sort. And as it turns out, like I said, the smaller parts are usually ideas. So we're talking about the realm of ideas and not necessarily opinions, because everybody's got an opinion, but ideas, can be used and manipulated to speak to large audiences, if you will, and manipulate them because woke is really a form of propaganda. And like I said, I think we are coming to grips with this because you don't hear it as much anymore. Most people think it's just silly. But deconstruction is all around us. And we don't see it because we are so used to being governed from the top, down to the masses. This top down, concept comes from the era of modernism, along with um, the Industrial Revolution. And the mantra of the modern era is I think and reason, therefore I understand. But that's being replaced by the postmodern era. And the postmodern era's mantra is I participate, therefore I understand. So, deconstruction is, works hand in hand as a postmodern exercise. And, postmodernism is, was created by a philosopher named Jacques Derrida in France many years ago. But his work is just coming into, general acceptance because he nails it. Deconstruction is a weapon, a tool that we all have at our disposal. At our disposal to help us understand the world in which we live. In 2003, an intelligent man from Chicago named Peter Lurie wrote an essay called Why the Web Will Win the Culture Wars for the Left. This essay is, I think, overlooked, by people who explore the topic. But there are his premise, the entire premise of this thing is not at all about content that is produced by people. It's all about the structure within which that content is presented. And here's a couple of paragraphs from what he wrote, and this is really important, so please pay attention. Long after the next bubble has burst, he wrote, the internet will have surpassed the hype generated by the last one. Not by changing the way we live and work, but by impacting the culture wars and tipping the battle decisively to the left. This will not result from the range of content available online, but rather the process of finding it. The architecture of the web and the way users navigate it closely resembles theories about the authority and coherence of texts that liberal deconstructionist critics have offered for 30 years. Deconstructionists believe that close analysis reduces any text, novel, statute, a religious work, to meaningless blather. The popular response to deconstruction has always been that it's counterintuitive, that no one reads that way, that it lacks common sense. That will change, Mr. Lurie predicts. Like reading or breathing, web browsing itself is agnostic with respect to politics and culture. Unlike reading or breathing, however, surfing mimics a postmodern deconstructionist perspective by undermining the authority of texts. Anyone who has spent a lot of time online, particularly the very young, will find themselves thinking about content, articles, texts, and pictures in ways that would be familiar to any deconstructionist critic. And a community of citizens who think like Jacques Derrida will not be a particularly conservative one. Amen to that. HTML, hyperlinks, frames, and meta tags are the essential building blocks of the web. They combine to create a highly associative, endlessly referential, and contingent environment that provides an expanse of information at the same time that it subverts any claim to authority, since another view is just a click away. So Lurie describes something that we have never seen before, and that is the tool and of people who live in the postmodern era. Postmodernism is an era of history. It's I participate, therefore I understand. No longer is information the sole purview of the top of our culture. That in the modern era, they used to feed down to all the rest of us. It's like the song says, the rich make the rules, the poor must maintain. And that's not, I think, been really great for our culture. You know how I feel about pleading the cause of the poor and the afflicted as the right way to know what life is all about. And the same thing with the things that we write and say, and the speeches that we've heard. Everybody in the modern era wants a stage. They need a stage with a captive audience that they can feed their propaganda and manipulate us all. But that's over. There are still going to be vestiges of it for a while, because postmodernism doesn't replace the modern era. It simply augments it and changes it. So postmodernism, the postmodern era, our ability to contact each other is completely horizontal. The term J. Rosen used is the great horizontal, which is upon us. Everybody, including our institutions, are nothing but a URL. We are all the same. No URL is bigger than another one. Sure, some may garner more users than others, but that way of counting influence is a thing of the past. Today, the real important aspect of culture is our attention. Do I provide my attention to anybody who's sitting on a pedestal? And the answer there is maybe yes, but probably no. It's why the web is building out, its own form of institutions. Take one example from medicine, for example. Medicine, which is one of the great institutions of the West, is governed by computers and third-party insurance and all sorts of things that don't have anything to do with medicine. So now people on the web can search their own maladies and find websites dedicated to one specific malady. And the patients and the people who've been involved in that disease will get together and share their knowledge. And I could go on and on about this, but it is a whole new way of looking at things, because we are in a horizontal environment, and that the tool that drives that is deconstruction. Have you ever gone to a doctor's office having researched your symptoms online? Some doctors don't mind, but a lot of them really do, because you are challenging the authority of that doctor, and the authority of that doctor is clearly not what it used to be. And they know this. I've talked to doctors who would rather their patients not come in with a bundle of information about their disease. Well, who does that help except the doctor and the institution of medicine? It's why I should add that WebMD, which is the website of the medical institution, never really tells you much and always ends with "see your doctor." So that website is representative of the institution and not the great horizontal. Watch this, because it's going to happen in every niche you can possibly imagine. And it is disruptive to the culture, unlike anything before it. So I predict that there's a revolution coming, and it will have to be a revolution, because there's no way that our culture will evolve into one that is much more horizontal. I mean, we have the technology to do just about anything, and we are held back by those institutions who have a need to, actually further the problem for which they are the solution. Clay Shirky said that, and that's a really important truth for all of us to understand. Moreover, you can deconstruct yourself. And this is the process of what happens through, for example, the 12 steps of AA. The fourth step, which is a fearless and searching moral inventory of ourselves, is in fact reducing our past into small bunches so that we can deal with those things. And my goodness, it's amazing what I have learned as a victim of trauma when I was a little boy, using the process of deconstruction. So personal deconstruction is, that kind of thinking is led by a guy named David Hayward, an artist from Canada. And I'm going to have him on soon as probably my first guest, because he is a remarkable man, and so humble, but so aware of himself and the other people around him that he makes cartoons and paintings about it, and advertises himself as the naked pastor. So watch for that, coming up sometime in the future. In the meantime, I got to remind you, as I do always, that, I'm just a commentary. I could be wrong. Please remember that as you listen to the stuff I feed you here on my channel.